All right, what's up, everybody? 1212 and a place to be. My name is Frank Red, and this is another edition of the In the Dungeon Show. I want to thank you for joining the program and checking out the vibes. If you're new to the show, my name is Frank Red, as I said, and we talk about sports. We promote hip hop music. We promote movies. And every now and then there are some intersections that we don't necessarily plan for, but we will address. And that's always fun as well. But the foundation of our show is sports and music and entertainment. And you listen to me for the first time. My name is Frank Red for the third time. And I just like to have fun. But the foundation of the show has to be smart, has to be factual. You know, we don't just kind of throw stuff out of the air because it feels good or because, you know, that's going to get clicks or build subscribers. I don't care that much about that stuff, to be quite honest with you. What I want to do is provide excellent programming, and you, the listeners, will ultimately decide whether or not we are doing that. Hit me up at Big Frank Red on X. I am very active on X. I like to respond. I like to put information out into the community, and I like to respond to other people's thoughts. And what a week in the world of sports! We haven't done a show in a week, so there's been a lot of build up. We now have a finals matchup, the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. We will get into that, but I think this is the matchup that everybody wanted. You know, when people were talking about Minnesota, I was like, do you really want to see Minnesota in the finals? A team that really doesn't have an offense, led by a 22-year-old who is just coming into his own? No, I don't want to see that. But Boston versus Dallas is interesting. At the start of the Dallas-Minnesota series, I said emphatically that Dallas would win. It was pretty easy to me. They have two closers. Minnesota really doesn't have one. Ant-Man is going to be a bona fide closer. Right now, he's trying to figure it out, and his teammates are not as good as he is. So, and then you got the Boston Celtics, one of the more talented teams that we have seen in the finals, I believe, in quite some time. I think that they're more talented than last year's champion, Denver Nuggets, and I think that they are on par with the Warriors a couple of years ago. I think, and now they're better, you know. But the best team doesn't always win, so we got to figure that one out. But I think Boston, with their brain trust, will get it done. Every now and then at practice, you'll see Jeff Van Gundy kind of sitting on the bench, away from the primary cameras, but he's in there, and you know, ready to consult and offer insight to Joe Mazzulla if he needs it. And from Joe Mazzulla's perspective, I think he's gotten a lot better as a coach, as most coaches do. You get better at it the longer you do it. But I just think that Boston's experience will show against the Dallas Mavericks. And we can talk about that. So that's one of the topics we're going to talk about. The NBA Finals starts on Thursday night. I can't wait. I don't like sweeps. I don't like short series because I'm twiddling my thumbs. And, you know, Boston versus Indiana. I knew Indiana wasn't going to win, but I wanted to see at least 6 games. And I wanted the Dallas versus Minnesota series to go a little longer as well. But oh well. We worked it out this weekend, and it sets up for a pretty good fighting. So, get your thoughts together if you have any, or just want to hear me talk, then that's fine as well. One of the amazing topics this week is, ironically, the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, the all-world college player, number 1 overall pick, who is literally changing the horizons of the WNBA. She got cheap-shotted yesterday. The nation was outraged. My thing is this. The officials need to handle that. I mean, you know what? I mean, we've seen plays like that before. But not to have anything happen, therein lies my problem. But narratives are starting to unfold. A lot of these players, these women players, and I've been thinking about this a lot, they're new to this. The men have a lot of runway experience, veterans teaching them how to be millionaire players. The women are just getting started. This is all new. And they're going to get better. As a result, I think it's really up to the league, to kind of galvanize their workforce and say, listen, ladies, this is not a good look. And what do I mean by that? The narrative that people are hating on Caitlin Clark, trying to hurt her, stuff like that can't happen. Even if you want to play her aggressively. I mean, I watched the game this afternoon, and I didn't see anything from the New York Liberty that I thought was below the belt, but I saw them on her like white rice. She had no room. She couldn't get off. There was no dirty plays. And I was like, whoa. So what are we looking at? You start looking at the coaching, to be quite honest with you. And I saw the coach of the Fever in the third quarter when the game was out of hand. She was coaching her ass off because I'm sure she's feeling the heat. I was like, I hope she don't get a heart attack out there because they got some real issues. Their offense is so predictable. That's the reason why Caitlin can't get off. The offense is really predictable. Now, here's some other observations that we can't talk about as men. We do it all the time with regards to, when we are observing men's basketball or men's sports, we talk about it all the time. But we can't do it because it's not politically correct in women's sports. What am I saying? When you look at team to team in the WNBA, some teams are in really good shape and some are not. The Indiana Fever, to me, are not in real good shape. Some of their top tier players are not. They can barely play one side of the court. Why is that? I have no idea. That's part of the problem. Caitlin Clark shouldn't be the, quote, best player on the team, the number 1 option. She ain't ready for that. The league is primarily weighted with really good guards. But nobody's going to talk about that. Some of these young ladies showed up out of shape. And emotionally, the losing is wearing on them, and they got to get it together. But what the league can do is to say, ladies, these hard fouls, these not hard fouls, but these non-basketball plays on Caitlin or any player is not going to be tolerated. I even thought last week, and I think I mentioned it on the show, when Alyssa Thomas kind of cocked back and threw Angel Reese to the floor. I was like, what is that? That's not a basketball play. When you're trying to build your league and you only have a few stars, you can't get your stars hurt. Try that crap with Stephen Curry. Good luck with that. Try to do that with LeBron. Now, the men's game is a little different, but the NBA is not going to tolerate that. play tough, play physical, but to go out there and just aggressively try to hurt players, that was 20 years ago. We're not doing that now. Do you think that people are going to show up and watch the Indiana Fever if Caitlin Clark is not on the floor? Do you think they're going to roll up to Seattle against the Storm and draw 19,000 if Caitlin Clark is not on the court? The answer is no. So, you don't have to be that smart to understand that while Caitlin Clark is simply a player, like everybody else, she's more than a player at this stage of the game. Do you need to protect her like she's some like fine wine or some antiquities? No. But you need to read the room. You shouldn't be running up to her and body checking her. Now, here's some irony. The people who I was talking to throughout the weekend, and these internet people are, they're something else. They're a lot better than I am. They showed a play when Caitlin Clark was in college at Iowa, basically doing the same thing to another young lady. Kind of pushing somebody down to the floor. Yeah, Caitlin did it. It's right there to see. But, I mean, my whole thing is like, so two wrongs make a right? No, I don't think so. Two wrongs don't make a right, and this is a business. So is college, but this is a bigger business. The stakes are higher. Who would have thought? At this point, WNBA teams are worth $100 million. That's an investment. That's not, oh, we want to promote women's sports for our local community. No. No. 100 million? Come on now. So if you got any thoughts on Caitlin Clark and what's happening in the WNBA, feel free to comment. What I love about this is the league is thriving. There's so many good players in this league. The league is outstanding. The Connecticut Sun is 8-0 for the first time in the history of their career, in the history of their existence. And I go, what else makes it tough? Here's one of the nuance points I want to make. Because the league doesn't have a lot of teams, there's no bad teams. So you wind up playing good teams over and over and over again. These teams know each other because they play each other all the time. That's what Bill Russell and Bob Cousy and Havlicek, Tom Heisen, and all those players were dealing with back in the day when the NBA first started. They only had a couple of teams. Those were battles. That's what the WNBA is dealing with right now. So, I'm on top of that. I've been following the league for 20 years. One of the comments online that people want to state or ask you a question: how long have you ever watched a WNBA game before? How long you been watching? I'm like, you know what? I've been watching for 20 years because I love basketball. You want to check me? Try to check me. All right. I also want to talk about the NBA in general. There's a lot of meaty topics out there. I'm just going to say this. Rich Paul and LeBron James have played this Bronny James thing to a T, like a virtuoso. Could not have done it any better. Ultimately, the young man's going to have to play for himself. But he's going to be drafted in the first round by the Lakers or by Phoenix, but probably the Lakers. So, it's another topic. I'm going to speak at the end, but on a sad note, Drew Gordon, the older brother of Aaron Gordon, power forward of the Denver Nuggets, died in a car crash, I believe on Thursday. And really sad news. I've actually Had an opportunity to work Drew out when he was much younger, and was a great role model to Aaron. And Aaron's gone on to great acclaim and possibly have a Hall of Fame career. So to see him pass anybody is really sad news. So I want to send out my prayers and condolences to the Gordon family. And if you have any comments about that, feel free to voice those as well. And also the great Bill Walton. Bill Walton was my favorite player as a kid. It's why my name is Red. I was light-skinned growing up in New York with red hair, but everybody in my neighborhood had favorite players. And my favorite player was Bill Walton. So to follow him as a player, as a broadcaster, and just kind of as a guy and learn more and more about him as an adult, really, really sad news because it was out of the blue. I think people knew that he was dealing with a serious illness, cancer, but for the general public, we didn't know about it. So when we heard that he had passed, it really, really hit home. So I want to say a couple of words about the great Bill Walton also. And a lot of people don't know how good a player he was. His body failed him ultimately, primarily his feet and his knees. But at one point, Bill Walton was the best player in the world. At one point, this dude was the best player in the world. All right, let's get it started. Let's go out and talk to my man, Mark Graves. So Mark Graves says, if Clark was African American, would she get this treatment? Jealousy is ugly. Interesting point, Mark Graves. And I'm going to say this. I don't know. You know, I think, I mean, you can, I think that there probably is a jealousy dynamic. There's absolutely no problem about it. There are people who are jealous of her. But if she was black, I think they'd still be jealous of her. Now, but here's what I think, Mark. And I think that, again, any indication of anybody trying to hurt her, let's get that out of the game. Let's hold people accountable. That we can't have that. But I think what people also have a problem with, and I think that you would speak to this, Mark, is the wholesome, you know, American dream type persona that they've attached to her, that narrative. And we're learning more and more that narrative is not quite right. So there's two sides of this equation. She has not dealt with adversity the way that I'm sure her coaches and her teammates wish that she has. Sabrina Ionescu basically openly said, you know what, I had to deal with some of the same crap. Mine lasted for over 2 years. Now she got hurt after her third game of her first year, so she wasn't playing, so it wasn't quite the same. But because Caitlin has been so public, because she's been on television more than anybody, jealousy is at a high level. And I mean, most people are jealous. She got a $28 million contract from Nike. And she's struggling to shake free just to shoot a three-point shot. You got people, girls, women in this league who don't know if they're going to be on the team next week. No excuse. No excuses for it. But I think there's a combination of her race, her attitude, you know, the fact that she talks a lot of trash herself, you know, which is all good. I'm good with everything, Mark, but I'm not good with people trying to hurt her. And we're going to play her tough. Play her tough. Play her like the Liberty did today. You know? But I'm not going to slam the gauntlet and say simply because she's white, people hate her because she's white. I don't believe that. That's ignorant. It's ignorant for anybody to have that mindset. And it's shameful. And I thought about it today because it's a fair question. And I said to myself, what? You know what? I am so damn lucky. You know why? Because all the teams that I played on were mixed. Whites and blacks. And some of the white players were like, I mean, they're like my brothers, man. They're like my brothers. So I didn't grow up with that. I don't hate people because they're of a certain color. I don't have that in me. I recognize that all people are capable of being evil. I know the history. But when I deal with you, I'm dealing with you on a personal level. And I got to believe that the WNBA as a whole are built with those types of individuals who are very thankful and have a tremendous amount of gratitude to be in the position that they're in. You know? I was encouraged by how I saw people playing Caitlin this afternoon against the New York Liberty. So, Mark, we can have a conversation about that, but I don't think it's simply because of a race. I don't believe that. I think that might be a part of it, but I don't think it's certainly not the biggest factor. I don't think so. I'm just going to say Lakers. I disagree with Caitlin being cheap-shotted. Shaq got cheap-shotted for his entire career. And everyone said, deal with it. Jordan pissed. Yeah. Okay, Lakers. But there are some differences, man. She's a woman, right? And you might say, if I'm a sexist and I'm on it, and I'm willing to err on the sides of women are different, then damn it, okay. You know, I'm okay with that. I think there's a different type of hard. You know, I believe that. I don't think that we're at a point now. I mean, think about this. We even have realized that mentality of which I grew up in. That was my era of basketball. And I loved it because I'm a big, strong guy. And I never was a dirty player, but I love the physicality of the game. Aesthetically, I think the game is better now. Better for the men. I think it's better for the women. So, I mean, I thought the random shoulder check was a cheap shot. Did she? Now I watched it a couple of times. Did she act a little bit? she might have. She probably did. She probably did. After I watched it about 15 times. But that young lady who cheap shotted her, who gave her the shoulder check, and some of you might not think it's a cheap shot. I'm like, yo, just calm down. Relax. She was about it. She was like, I grew up with brothers. This is how, it's how we ball. I don't particularly agree with her. Mark says, that sounds like collusion. Bronny only working out for 2 teams. Yeah, it is collusion. But collusion happens all the time, Mark, unfortunately. Sports is not a sports. I mean, the NBA is a microcosm of our society. How many young players have been screwed from the start because they were drafted by the wrong team? Because they didn't have an ally. I'm sure you're a very successful person, Mark. Ask yourself, why are you successful? at some point you probably had an ally. Or you know what it feels like not to have an ally. LeBron James is not going to allow his son, to enter into this jungle, which is what it is, without an ally. And I said before, he can do everything except play for him. Ultimately, Bronny has to take care of that. Do I think he's ready? No, I don't. Do I think he has pro potential? Yes, I do. But they're not going to play this two-way contract, 55 games, go far around in the G League. No. LeBron's not having that. Rarely in our lifetime have we ever seen somebody utilize their power as a player the way that LeBron James has. Is it really a part of my philosophy, the way that I like to do things? No. But do I frown upon LeBron doing it? No, I don't. LeBron's done that since the inception of his career and has worked exquisitely well. And Rich Paul has been the anchor of all of that. If I'm LeBron James and I got a chance to play with my son, have him get a legitimate contract, get drafted in the first round, pick the coach that I want, it's all good. Because here's the deal. Where the Lakers where the Lakers pick in the first round, is that really going to be the deciding factor of whether or not they win the Western Conference title next year? No. It's going to be LeBron James, Anthony Davis. They're going to need to sign somebody who can play and develop some others. That's it. And JJ Redick as a coach, they believe is going to add more to the sideline than Darvin Ham did. I can't disagree with that. Even though I don't like the fact that Darvin Ham got fired, but I get it. This is not an after-school special. What I start thinking about when I think about the Lakers and Bronny James and LeBron and everything associated with that organization, if they're willing to do all of this, can you imagine how much money the Lakers make? Normal people like us, we can't even fathom the amount of money that the Lakers must make on a yearly basis. Crazy. And guess what? They're willing to protect that investment at all costs, especially when you consider Mr. Ballmer's going to open up the best arena in the history of mankind? They don't even want to think about giving any ground to the LA Clippers. So LeBron James is going to get whatever he wants. LeBron's going to sign a 3-year deal. He's going to opt out and sign a 3-year deal. Literally the same length as his son's contract. And if Phoenix was ultimately going to draft Bronny, it would be in the first round. And it would, and LeBron would probably, I mean, he ain't leaving LA. But I think he would probably trust Budenholzer. His son's getting drafted in the first round. And the way that they worked this and manipulated this, I have no problem with it. I mean, work out for 10 buster organizations? No way. No. Some of these organizations that said that they wanted to work him out, you wouldn't want your son to play for if you had a choice. If you had a choice. Every organization is not the same. We know this. Mark says, part of the problem is what some players said before she even entered the league. Okay, you're talking about Caitlin again. All right, okay. I'll get back to that, Mark. SG, what's up, brother? SG says, thoughts on the 104-68 win New York Liberty over the Indiana Fever. I talked about that a little bit. I'll talk about it again. Aussie Rules, what is up? No teammates came to Caitlin Clark's defense after the cheap shot. In my humble opinion, that is very telling. What you say, yeah. Mark says a good father would do that for a son, but the son needs to make it on his own 2 feet. I agree with you, Mark. That's what I just said. I said LeBron can do everything except play for his son, right? I think you and I are on the same page with that. Aussie Rules, you're absolutely right. And basically, before you came on, what I said about Caitlin Clark was, okay, what some of the players don't like is the American homeland narrative that has been written about Caitlin. And Caitlin Clark is a complete person. She has wonderful attributes. She has some things that she needs to work on. You know, she talks crap to people. She pushed the girl down to the floor, you know, in college. You know, she doesn't deal with adversity as well as she's going to have to at this point as a professional player. With that said, for her teammates not to come to her defense is inexcusable. Inexcusable. Matt Barnes had a little short video on YouTube and Instagram that I thought was spot on. And he basically talked about that. And I go back to my college days. I didn't like everybody on my college team. I did not. But when we stepped in between those lines, we were all together, man. We were all together. We had to fight, and we had to knock somebody down. That's my teammate. That's my teammate. Whatever issues that we had, and that doesn't matter. That's my teammate. Inexcusable. And guess what? That's a coaching thing. That's an organizational challenge that they need to fix. You're going to have internal issues. Matt Barnes and CP3, they talk about it all the time. You know what? If you're on the team, you don't like everybody. Rarely do you like everybody. But when you are in public and in between the lines, you got to step up and support your teammates. That's terrible. And I think moving forward, you're probably going to see the Indiana Fever display some different actions because it's unprofessional. Even if you got to fake it, I don't care. You know, NBA players are tripping over themselves to pick up their teammates when they get fouled. You know, and let's go back to the season on the Golden State Warriors. Andrew Wiggins goes for layup and doesn't pass the ball to Brandon Podzinski, and Podzinski looks at him and says, like, you know, why are you passing the ball? And you know what Andrew Wiggins said to him. You don't say that to somebody who you are inviting over for Thanksgiving dinner, all right? So that let everybody know, okay, it's not all peaches and cream. But when the Warriors are on the court, they display a unified group like they're supposed to. SG, when you lose by 36 points multiple times, you're giving up. Can't have that. Now, with regards to Indiana, you know, the scheduling gods probably got them. They played more games than anybody. They're on national television. This is a young team. And I don't think they're that damn talented. I'm watching these young ladies up close for the first time, and I'm like, okay, so they're not in real good shape as a team. From top to bottom, they're not in great shape. And you could argue that they're not being put in the best position to be successful. How good are they? You look at that New York Liberty roster. Are you kidding me? That's my favorite team. Listen, that roster is loaded. Sabali is not even playing now. Sabali. She's not even playing. The New York Liberty are grabbing players from Germany, overseas, that can play. Sharpshooters come off the bench. Like, who the hell is that? The New York Liberty is getting it right. The Indiana Fever reserve players look like they D3 players. I'm like, who the hell are these young ladies? I'm being a little facetious, but you could look at the Indiana Fever players and say to yourself, okay, those are the top players, those are the reserves. You can't do that with the Liberty. Cannot. That's how talented they are. And Mark, I agree with you. Just to kind of speak to the Bronny thing, I hope it works out, but ultimately, you're right. Bronny James gonna have to play for himself. Aussie says, I posted Tiger Woods increased attendance and viewers for the PGA, putting money in the white players' pockets. The white players always acknowledge. Don't see this by WNBA players towards Caitlin Clark. Yeah. That's an interesting point, Aussie. And the point that I made earlier was the NBA has had a long history of existence. So there have been some OGs to really educate the young players. The NBA has a very good union. Let's keep it real. They got a very good union. They got a pipeline. They got elders who work for organizations. The WNBA doesn't have that. They're fighting for jobs. So they got 22-year-olds thinking that they're on the same level as Diana Taurasi. And you can't have that. Who is the women's president of the WNBA's union? I don't even know that. I thought to myself, I said, well, who's the president of the WNBA? Before I came on air tonight, I don't know that. So I think that you're right. I think there is a lack of education right now. And while they're making strides financially, the league is in better position. A lot of things are all good, but the infrastructure needs to get better. And I think that you're hitting on something because competition should not preclude your ability to see the big picture and to understand that this is a business that everybody can benefit from, but there's a way that you do things. That's a great point. Also, here's another point. He says, normally I would assemble myself, but with so many pieces thinking to pay for assembly about you. Okay, I think you have a conversation with somebody else. I'm not quite sure what this is about. All right, this is to me. Very true. NBA much more developed than the WNBA system. Public acceptance, maturity. Yeah, exactly. Bob Cousy started the union back in the 50s, the 50s or the 60s. So, and his was interesting. The NBA and the WNBA owners, which are essentially NBA owners, they don't want a strong union. They don't. Not at this point. They want financial solvency first. And I don't think that they want to treat the young ladies unfairly. I don't believe that. But I don't think that that's priority number one for them to teach the collective how to be the best professionals that they can be. I don't believe that. I think building a solid business that will enable them to make a return on their investment is priority number one. And from the women's perspective, the players is, let me establish myself as a professional player in the WNBA and feed my family and make a living. But there's so much more to that, as we know. I mean, Caitlin Clark being slammed to the floor and having an opposing player, in this case Angel Reese, standing up and clapping. I mean, come on, y'all. Stop it. You don't see that in the NBA. You don't see that in the NBA. You know, now, a lot of the players have the same agents. You know, they work out together. They went to Kentucky together. I mean, so it's different. It just kind of shows you the extreme of the two professional organizations. But all of these variables that we're talking about matter. And I don't want to lose focus on the game because, yo, the Connecticut Sun is really good. The New York Liberty is really good. The Aces, they're good, but they're missing their point guard. I love what the LA Sparks have done in the draft. I didn't know how well Cameron Brink was going to assimilate to the WNBA. I love what she's doing. I mean, wow, what a star. And Rakina Jackson from Tennessee, stud. She might be a WNBA MVP one year. That's how talented she is as a player. Yeah. So, and then Caitlin's gonna figure it out. Caitlin needs to have better players around her also, which is gonna be tough because Indiana's not like a free agent hotbed. Chicago with Cardosa and Angel Reese. I mean, you know, hey man, the league is getting better. I can't wait until the Bay Area's the Valkyries start to acquire players. That's gonna be dope. But because it's such a well-run organization, you know they're gonna be bringing in some young ladies from around the world who can play. Austin says, too much trash talking. Street ball bullying. Turns me off. I don't want to watch the WNBA. Did you watch it before? I think they're going to clean it up. But they're going through some stuff now. They are. And, you know, I don't know if, again, the counseling aspect, the mentoring aspect, they're lacking that. You know, NBA teams historically for a long period of time have always had a vet on the team. They don't have those vets. They barely have enough roster spots, which sucks. The WNBA should literally have like some auxiliary position of like a player mentor that's not playing, but you're part of the organization, and it's a paid salary. You know, pay somebody $100,000. You know, some veteran player presence who they respect, because they need it. They need it so badly. Some of these young ladies are running amok. SG, if I was playing on a high school basketball team and someone shoved my teammate to the ground and another player from the opposing team was taunting him, and I would stand up and have his back. Yeah, absolutely. You want to make sure he doesn't get hurt. You don't want to jeopardize, but you know, I've been a high school coach, multiple high schools. and I talk to my players. I don't want my players ruining their careers. So first and foremost is safety. You want to make sure that your teammate's okay. Run to his or her aid. Start throwing blows in retaliation. Nah, it's not the first thing I want you to do. Hey, Frank, what will you be looking for to the Olympics? Continuity, sacrifice. It should be beautiful. I think this team wants to put on a show and be compared to the 92 Olympic team. And there are some similarities that can be drawn. To actually get that done, the ultimate team is going to have to sacrifice. But to see Stephen Curry playing with LeBron and KD and Embiid and all of these great players, I can't wait. But sacrifice is what I'm looking for. This team is not going to be as good defensively as the 92 team. But with Steve Kerr as the head coach and the tremendous staff I'm sure he's going to assemble, you would think that offensively this team's going to look pretty darn good. And they'll be solid defensively. So sacrifice, selflessness, hustle, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for one person to be, that guy like Jordan was. I'm looking for the ball not sticking, guys making shots, guys sacrificing for each other. It should be beautiful, man. It really should. And I want to see if any of this, if any of these experiences manifested itself into some trades and some free agent signings or some blockbuster trades, because it has to happen. The Minnesota Timberwolves, if they bring that team back, they may not get out of the first round next year. They may not get out of the first round. The idea of an NBA team repeating is a long shot. I don't think you're going to see that for a long time. One of the reasons why LeBron James was so pissed, and I kept saying it, the Denver Nuggets were not that much better than the Lakers this year. And a disjointed, really athletic Minnesota team went into Denver and kicked their butts. The West is wide open. Even the Golden State Warriors. I know a lot of people, read that the Warriors are too old. You need to play young players. And I'm like, no, listen. It comes down to execution. I believe the Warriors could have potentially won a opening round series had they beat Sacramento. Sacramento didn't have a great showing against New Orleans. I think the Warriors would have beat them. It's going to be interesting. The Warriors need another scorer to support Stephen Curry. Who is that person going to be? I have no idea. Am I totally confident that they can grow that much from within to have somebody ascend to take upon that role? Not really. Nah. I think they need somebody. There's a forward in Phoenix is pretty good. That knows what the Warriors locker room is. Aussie says, yes, sir, indeed. Watch the WNBA before. NBA players need to be more involved, mentoring players. Aussie, I don't know about NBA players, but I think veteran WNBA players who have gone on and accomplished great things, they're out there. The Tina Charles of the world. Sue Bird's now, she's an owner, so she's not going to do that. But, and I mean, I don't know who these individuals are, I don't know if they need to be. I mean, you'd assume women, but they need mentors. They definitely need mentors. Imagine WNBA teams being mentored by Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Magic Johnson, from time to time. Yeah, you know what? They're going to start doing that because, you know, these are money-making entities now. You know, they're not like, you know, good things to have. You know, no, these are businesses. The Las Vegas Aces has actually made Mark Davis look good. They made him look damn good. You know, I don't know what his initial investment was, but he's made money off brand new practice facility. I mean, good coach, good players, all young. Yeah, man. Yeah, we've talked about that. What do you think about Dallas and Boston? I think Boston's going to win. I think Jaylen Brown's going to be the MVP of the series. I'm okay with somebody saying that Luka Doncic is the most talented player. I don't know if he's the best player. I don't know if he is. I think everything is set up for him. His stats are crazy. But I want to see Luka in a series with Boston where he has to guard somebody who can score on him also. That's what I want to see. You know, I mean, literally Luka against Minnesota was like an NBA player playing against a G League player. Jaden Daniels, I mean, no one watching this program can determine how can determine when they were born, right? But let me tell you something. If you didn't get a chance to see Scottie Pippen play, do you have any idea how much better a defensive player that Scottie Pippen was than Jaden Daniels? Jaden Daniels is a hell of a defensive player. Scottie Pippen was so much better. I mean, Luka shoots moon balls, right? But check this out. I'm a basketball historian. Scottie Pippen had abnormally long arms. His arms were probably like of a 7-footer, right? Scottie Pippen would have picked Luka up 94 feet from baseline to baseline. Like you see Drew Holiday picking guards up. Scottie Pippen would have picked Luka up, yes. Just like Andrew Wiggins was doing 2 years ago as a member of the Warriors. Scottie Pippen would run his ass into the ground. So by the time he got past half court, those open, long moon shots that he was taking, he wouldn't get that off against Scottie Pippen. You guys, some of you have no idea how good a player Scottie Pippen was. Scottie Pippen, to me, he's the best defensive small forward in the history of basketball. It's not even close. Not even close. That's how good Scottie Pippen was. Now, I'm not comparing Jaylen Brown to Scottie Pippen, but Jaylen Brown is a dog. That dude is so mentally tough. I mean, he scares people. He don't scare me. I love to play with him. But he's focused. He's locked in. He doesn't have the best agility. He doesn't do everything exactly right. But that dude's a straight up winner. And if I'm Jason Tatum, I'm tired of everybody telling me how good somebody else is and they're not mentioning me. This dude's one of the more talented players in the history of the NBA. But he doesn't always go out and play like it. Boston is significantly better than Dallas. I think the series is going 6 games. Now, could Dallas win? Hell yeah, they can win. Anybody that show up can win. You know? And that's on Boston. I think the owner's name is Whip or something like that with Boston. If they don't win this series against Dallas, heads are going to roll. Key says, I think this Caitlin Clark drama is overblown. She's going to get that rookie treatment until she proves herself. Remember, MJ and these are women athletes, way more dramatic and emotional. I would say you're right. And their bodies are not built for as much pounding. You know? Now, mentally, are they as tough? Hell yeah. Are they as fierce? Yes, they are. Do they play as hard? Yes, they do. You know, but structurally, you know, biologically, men are stronger. You know, you would assume that they could take more hits, you know, to the flesh. I'm not going to say they're tougher. When the last time a man had a baby? But you know, Keith, I mean, I hope you're right, because I'm a big time Caitlin supporter. But I have to admit, I'm a little surprised with her lack, with her inability to deal with adversity. You know, there are too many times when you see her on the bench when she's clearly bothered. And I'm sure that was a little shocking to her teammates as well. And yet the narrative of her, you know, being pristine as a player and always associated with basketball on and off the court, it's not true. She's a young player, very talented, who is dealing with everything associated with being a professional. Now, the cheap shot stuff, no, I'm not with that. We need to get rid of that. And I think the WNBA is probably quietly telling all of the teams, yo, we're not going to stand for that. The coaches are basically employees of the WNBA. They can't get players hurt. Cannot. SG, I'll give you a chance to join the show, but not tonight. Once again, I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Drew Gordon, the older brother of Aaron Gordon of the Denver Nuggets. I've had the opportunity to work out Drew and Aaron when they were young players coming up in the Bay. Drew was a great role model for Aaron. Both of them are former Oakland Soldier players. That renowned juggernaut AAU program. And Drew was a great role model for Aaron. And I mean, you see how hard Aaron plays. I mean, let's give him the credit, but he never had to look far from a role model to admire and to emulate in terms of how he played. He had a big brother who played extremely hard. Their dad played basketball. Their sister was an excellent volleyball player, Ivy League player. So you're talking about a family full of athletes and achievers. And it's really a tragedy that Drew is no longer with us. He was married, has a couple of kids. And when I got the news, I was just heartbroken to hear that. So, Bill Walton. Some of my closest friends have had interactions with Bill Walton. And it just kind of shows you how, like, in this world, you could be so far, but yet so close. One of my good friends is I'm talking big time Grateful Dead fan. And he's educating me on the Grateful Dead. I'm listening to more and more of their music. He's gone to 241 shows. Bill Walton went to over 1,000. When I got my master's degree, I got it from a special program. I'm not going to acknowledge where or whatever the case, but my professor, Harvard guy, had a relationship with Bill Walton. And Bill Walton would come to Berkeley and come to his school and come to his house. And, you know, Bill Walton was a pretty interesting guy, for those that know. But going back to my childhood, imagine being a kid growing up in New York, having this guy, taking on his name, Red, because his nickname was Big Red, and then moving cross country and finding all of these connections to a person who I admired when I was a child. Pretty cool stuff. One of the things that I will never forget about Bill Walton, it's not about basketball. I remember I saw an interview with Luke Walton. And Luke Walton said, and I thought this was incredible, because I never had a father. Luke Walton said that his father, Bill Walton, told him to always question authority. Always question authority. Now, as a black man, as a young black child, a black teenager, black parents are so afraid that their sons, primarily their sons, are going to have some interaction with police. And I mean, you're always in a defensive, and I'm not going to say submissive. That's not true. But you are in a position where you're playing defense, because the reality of something bad happening to you is real. It's not the same with all races. Let's be honest. But when you have a mentality that you question authority, your dad tells you that, that's empowering. You know, that allows you to deal with adversity, to get fired, you know, to get back on your feet, you know, to look at the world as an opportunity. And I mean, he's not my dad, but I took that advice that he gave to Luke, and that's my mentality. Now, question authority because you want to be ignorant? No. Get the facts. Be open to the facts. Don't assume that someone else's point of view is more thorough than yours. Why? Why is somebody else's information better than yours when you are informed on a particular subject? Why can't you have a conversation about it? So that was my lasting memory of Bill Walton and all of his greatness as a player, as a broadcaster. And Bill Walton had a speech impediment. I had a speech impediment too as a young kid. I took speech classes well past high school. And yet, people listen to me talking on the radio and on the internet. So I also had that connection with Bill Walton. So there you go. Hopefully Bill Walton is resting easy now. I'm sure he is. And I mean, there's a lot of information out there to learn about this guy. A really, really unique person. No question. I saw a movie for the ages this weekend. One of the best movies that, I'm going to say this. This movie that I saw, and I'm going to tell you about it, reminded me of Good Will Hunting. starring Robin Williams, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Brilliant movie. Good Will Hunting. If you've never seen Good Will Hunting, check it out. The movie that I saw this weekend was called Ezra. And Ezra, check out this cast. Robert De Niro, Robert Cannavale, Rose Byrne, Whoopi Goldberg, Tom Goldwyn, Vera Farmiga, William H. Fitzgerald plays the starring role as young Ezra, and Rainn Wilson, and there were some other folks as well. So this was a project that all of these great actors wanted to be a part of. Robert De Niro at 80 is still the top of his game. I'm going to challenge everybody to go out and watch Ezra, all right? And I'm going to give you a brief review of what it's about. Basically, what the movie's about is a couple who are divorcing, played by Rose Byrne and Robert Cannavale. And I think they're married in real life. So they are divorced, but you can tell that emotionally they're still connected with each other. And they have a son, Ezra, who has special needs. And his father, who had special needs when he was a child, didn't get the supports that he needed. And he's adamant about making sure that his son has the proper support system that he needs to be a successful person. And that's not society. Society is let's put people in boxes. So they want to put this young man in a box, and his father's not having it, and his mom quietly is championing the father's pursuits, even though she has to act like she's not. And Robert De Niro plays the dad of the father, and the father and his son go on a journey, and madness ensues. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to spoil it. It's brilliant. Check the movie out. I can relate to it in so many different ways I'm not going to get into tonight. Not my story, but I can relate to it. I've met a lot of different types of people and formed relationships with a lot of folks. And, again, I don't think that putting people away or putting them in a place that's isolated is the best method, best process to have them potentially be the best that they can be. I don't think so. All right, let's go on Aussie rules. Bill Walton, human being first, yes, basketball player next, became a father figure to Mo Lucas' son. Many layers of Bill in a good way. Absolutely. The only, the only thing that Bill Walton had that I'm sure he would like to change is that episode, that time when he had a thing with Rasheed Wallace. I don't think that was a good look. I think that in retrospect, I'm sure he wished that he would have handled that whole scenario better. But that's a part of his narrative as well. And, that does not define him as a person. Everything that you said about him, Aussie, I totally agree with. I've learned so much about basketball, but more than anything about Bill Walton, what I learned from Bill Walton is to be curious. And I hope, like when I look at like a Stephen A. Smith, like Stephen A. Smith or not, Stephen A. Smith is allowed to be himself. And you might like him, you might not like him. That's not important. Bill Walton was allowed to be Bill Walton. And as a result, we benefited from it, and we got a chance to see it. And I'm glad that he was able to share his total self with the public, because that was a rarity. All right. SG says, I'm going to watch Bad Boys Ride or Die on June 6th. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that movie as well. Can't wait to see that. That'll probably be my next movie. Looking forward to it. I want to say this too. I don't know what to make of it, but the USFL and the XFL has been pretty darn good this year. I mean, remember like 4 or 5 years ago when you would turn it on and you might have like a WWE wrestler running on the field, and somebody got a phone call or something. No. These dudes out there playing football, real football. And I'm so happy for The Rock and his business partner, and the ESPNs of the world, the Foxes. They've got behind this, and it looks like football, and it's been pretty good. I don't know what your thoughts are. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that. But I actually wanted to commend them. The ratings are up 25%, and that's the reason, because it's a pretty good product. Mike Brown and the Kings have stopped their shenanigans, and he has a contract. I guess essentially it's 3 years, close to $30 million a year. He hasn't won a playoff series. I'm good with that. I mean, but 3 years, 7, come on, Zach. Stop it. Stop it, Mr. Ronadot. The market is $10 million at this point. All right? He deserves that. So I'm happy that they took care of that. You can put the focus on helping the Sacramento Kings get better. And I don't know if he is the guy. He needs to go out and prove now that he's the guy. But he got market value. And I was happy to see that, because what was happening before was diminishing his contributions, and it made this organization look bad, and no one needed that. I'm going to say this also. Are you guys familiar with Darren Waller? I know you guys are familiar with Darren Waller, the former Raider. Now he's the New York Giants football player. Married Kelsey Plum of the Las Vegas Aces of the WNBA. They broke up. I think they got divorced. I'm not quite sure. But Homeboy put out a record. And, I'm an artist. I put records out. I'm going to put a record out next month. And because I'm an artist, I listen to everything and I try to be open, right? And his approach to making this record and video, and it's basically kind of painting himself as a victim. He's heartbroken, losing his wife, so on and so forth. He uses auto-tune, and it's kind of a Post Malone sing-along, Lil Wayne type situation. But I'm gonna give this guy credit. It's not trash. It's not trash at all. And I heard over the weekend, like some late night sports talk radio people, trying to act like it was trash. I'm like, nah, this is not trash. He invested in some real musicians that put together a pretty good track for him. And I think it was cathartic for him. I think it was his therapy, as opposed to sitting on the couch. He was dealing with some real stuff. It was awkward because the subject matter is real, but I want to commend him for being courageous. Check it out. Darren Waller, check it out. And let me know what you think. It's not something that I would do. It's not something I would buy. It's not the approach that I would use. I'm not an auto-tune type person. But the finished product, I think is pretty darn good. I'm gonna give him credit for somebody who is not like a noted professional artist, just going in the studio and doing his thing. Good job. Now, I hope he doesn't lose his career. He hasn't really had a good season in like 4 or 5 years, and we know that he's had some challenges in his life. I want him to get back to football because he's missed a lot of games over the past couple of years. He's still a very young person. I think if he wants to play football, then I want to see him on the field playing 14, 15, 16 games next year. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to have a career much longer. So I'm hoping the best for Darren Waller. The guy has dealt with tremendous adversity in his life. And yeah, go out and check out the song and let me know what you think. All right? Now, I'm going to promote the show. If you subscribe to the Dungeon Show, then thank you. You've done your job. But we're trying to run the numbers up. I'm really focused on doing great shows. The numbers are not going up, which is okay. But if you know somebody that you think would like it, then let them know. And I appreciate it. Hit the like button for this particular show if you like what you've heard. Follow me on X also. I like to converse back and forth throughout the week on things related to sports and life in general. All right? I'm going to be respectful of everybody's time, and I'm going to do my thing and get out of here. All right? Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. My name is Frank Red, everybody. Hit the like button. This is the In the Dungeon Show. We're probably going to do a show game 1 of the NBA Finals. All right? Let's get Keys in here before we break out. Break up hearing Laurie Marketing linked to the Warriors. Do you see a fit? I like his talent, man, but I can see him and Draymond having some serious problems. But he's a talent. If he can resurrect his career with the Warriors and get tough, because he doesn't strike me as a tough player. He doesn't. I have no problem with his talent. I have a lot of I have serious problems with his lack of consistent rebounding numbers, and his post defense is not very good. I mean, he's basically an offensive player. But I get it. I think he's a talent, and the Warriors would probably have to give up Wiggins, right? So not bad, but he would have to make some changes to his career, I think, to be successful within the Golden State organization. But when you're trying to get better, you have to take some chances. This guy's a talented guy. No doubt about that. All right. Good night, everybody. Peace.